Guys, welcome to section number 3, secret number 2. In this one, I'm going to tell you how to trade sessions, what are the significance of certain sessions, what are the things that you need to keep in mind, and how I like to trade it. So majorly, obviously, there are multiple Asian, Tokyo, whatever sessions are there, but majorly there are only 2 sessions. One is London session, second is the New York session. But you need to know what to do in which particular session if you want to be a good trader, if you want to survive for a very long time in the markets. And this is a very simple indicator again that I use. If you go to TradingView, you just have to search for this FX session range. If you go click on this, you'll have indicators. You'll have an indicator on your chart which will signify all the sessions. So you can just go to the settings and select London session and New York session, and it'll be colored like this. Apart from anything any of that, it's just some other random sessions. But yes, so guys, London session starts from here, and also you can change the timings as well if the timings in this is not correct. But I want you to notice something, and there are certain things that I have noticed personally, and that will help you out a lot. So guys, here if you see what happens normally if you look at this, the moment the London session starts, price is a little bit dry. Now pay attention to what I'm saying, because this is going to be applicable most of the time. Whenever the London session opens, price is mostly dry, gives a move. Then the most liquidity comes when there's a common ground between the New York and the London, which is this place basically. So when I'll just remove this indicator, but when the London session starts, price is a little bit dry, which is basically around 8 to 9 a.m. in Indian Standard Time, and then London session opens, price moves a little bit, price gives a certain move. Then what happens? Most of the time, in the middle of the day, around let's say 5 or 6 p.m. in the evening Indian Standard Time, price gives a reverse move because US session starts off, and then price continues in that direction for the rest of the day. Most of the time, this is what happens. And I personally love to trade London session only, because US session, I have observed that in the US session, price is very violent. Price does not respect zones as much. Once again, this is something that you can backtest and try it out yourself. A lot of people have seen they prefer trading the US session over the London session, but I like to trade the London session because it is more predictable, it is more safer and lesser volatile. Once again, it's just my preference, but this is a pattern that I have noticed, guys, that normally what happens, price at the start of the London session is like this, then there's some volatility, then most of the time, as soon as the New York session starts, price becomes even more volatile. So I like to trade this volatility, not this one, because obviously the more volatility, the more the risk, obviously the more the reward, but I like to stay here. I like to trade this. And for beginners, for starters who are starting to trade gold, I would also recommend you start off trading the London session, because the New York session is very violent, and 90% of the time there's some certain news that is always coming during the New York session, which makes it even more difficult to predict, even more difficult to trade. So if you're a beginner watching this, you don't have at least 1 or 2 years of experience trading gold or trading Forex markets, do not trade the New York session, because news will kill you, news will destroy your capital, right? So this is something that I just wanted to share, guys. Apart from that, I have also observed that during London session, what happens? So let's say if this is a zone, okay? This is a zone. And once again, I want you to backtest this yourself. If there's a certain zone and price is resting at that particular zone before the open of London session, most of the time, price is going to respect that zone for the rest of the day, and price will go down or up from there. So let's try and take an example in this particular case. Let me apply the session range over here. Let's go to the 1 hour time frame. Okay, I don't know why there are gaps here, but let's take an example of this support zone. So you can see the price was respecting this. The price was resting at the support zone earlier before the London opened. London opened, price went up, and then in US session that continued as well. And then later on, let's take another example. This was a support zone. Price was resting here. The London opened over here. Obviously, this is not that example because price was not resting at this zone. Let's take this for example again. So price is at support. Price is just starting to go up from here. Price respected the zone for the rest of the day. Even in the US session, price came down, but that zone was respected. Now, this is something that happens very frequently. if once again I repeat, during the London session, before the start of the London session, if the price is resting at a certain support or a resistance, most probably that support or resistance is going to be respected for the rest of the day. So if you get a good trade at that particular zone at the very start of the day, you can also hold that trade for the rest of the day till the end of US session, because when that happens, most of the time the price goes in just one direction for the whole day. Let me give you an example, and that happened very recently actually. So once again, this example itself. So the price was resting at the support, London opened, let's say you went long over here. You went long over here with a stop loss here. You can see the rest of the day price went up. So this setup, you might find this at least once or twice a week, but this happens, and this is something that you should definitely capitalize on. And once again, guys, let's say there was a resistance over here. London opened, price went down, came back a little bit, and then still respected that zone, went down for the rest of the US session. So most of the time, the zone where the price is resting during London Open is respected most of the time. Even if you see over here, you can barely see price going a lot. I mean, you can see price going very rarely away from that particular zone. Even over here, once again, another example, price was resting here at this particular zone. London opened, rest of the day price went down. Once again, price was resting here, London open, went down for the rest of the day and for the rest of the US session as well. So this is how I like to trade sessions. This is what I look at when I look at sessions. But obviously sometimes when this is not the case, when the zone is not opening at London session and price is somewhere else, in that case price reverses. So if London session has went up, US session will go down. Most of the time, that's how it happens. But if the price is resting at a certain zone before the London Open, most of the time, for the rest of the day, that zone is respected and price moves in one particular direction. So if you manage to get in on a trade at that particular setup, you should probably hold it for the rest of the day and keep trailing your stop losses, because it will reward you very nicely. And trust me, guys, like I said, if you just capture one trade like this in the entire week, it's easy 5 to 10% ROI on your capital, which is a lot if you ask me. So this is all I had to share, guys, about sessions and how I trade them. I'll see you in the next one.